Happy Pride Month, everybody. Welcome to Fangirl Diaries. I'm your host, Danny, and let's get into today's entry. Ooh, I have a feeling people are not going to be happy about this one. I can already tell. I know that a lot of people really love this show, and I enjoyed it for the most part, but I was disappointed. I'm not gonna lie off the bat. I'm just gonna jump on it and say that I am sorry to anyone who maybe doesn't like my opinions on this season, because it's a season 2. I'm gonna also do that. It's a season 2. I'm so annoyed with everyone saying this is not a season 2. This is a separate. No, it's a season 2. So this is gonna ruffle some feathers. Funny enough, I'm actually recording this one without Lilia in the room. I figured, let me try recording one without her, even though we did season 1 together. And oh my God, she had to stop me there. So I guess if you haven't read the title, we are doing Only Friends Dream On. Last week we did Only Friends. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm really disappointed by this one. I was so excited when that original pilot had come out, and it was Only Friends, like that original pilot. And I know we've had some cast changes, which I think was a good call. Owl Boom was definitely a good fit for the characters that we ended up getting, but it's disappointing that we didn't get the version of Rome Raffi that was in that pilot. So I guess start off the bat there. I think the actors that were in this were great. I just feel like they weren't given the material that they deserved. But there were 2 plot points in that original trailer. So for one thing, I think this would have helped the series a lot more. The Arnold Dean plot, where Arnold has a thing for Dean. If you remember in that original pilot, he goes up to Tua and is like, "Are Jack and Dean still together, or like what's their deal?" And then I think Tua says like, "Oh, they're broken up or something." And he goes, "Oh, you so I have a chance." And then Tua gets angry and walks off. And then Arnold's like oblivious to why he's mad. And I think there was more. The other thing, Raffi was more flirty and more like he was going to get what he wanted. Like there was that scene where he goes up to like Jack and is like, I could be your Romeo too. And Jack is smoking a cigarette. And then Raffi starts smoking out the same thing. And that's where Rome comes and grabs Jack to like talk to him. And then you have Dean telling Raffi to back off his man. And he's like, well, he's not your man anymore, is he? Like scenes like that, where it wasn't just Raffi just letting Dean be the mean one. Like, I feel like would have given us more of an Only Friends vibe than what we actually got. Because what we ended up getting to me was just disappointing. And it made me feel mad because I feel like there were some characters that were really toxic. And I had feelings that I had from season 1. But unlike season 1, where at least it was fun, this one I was like, I need everyone to just actually not be friends anymore. And it's disappointed in what ended up happening. And there were some actors that I feel like got the short end of the stick. And again, it's disappointing because you have a really good set of actors. And my thing with GMM is that if we're going to make this a recurring thing every year now, because from what we saw at the end of the series, funny enough, I'm recording this when the last episode dropped. We're just dropping this a little later because we have some other episodes that are coming out first while I'm in Thailand. So by the time this episode drops, I'll be back from Thailand. And who knows, maybe we'll drop an episode of all my adventures. But there's just something about the idea of making this a recurring thing and putting more actors through this when you guys clearly don't know what you want to do with this series. Like, their tension is gone and it's not there. And if you're going to keep giving, because I feel like after this, who else could you put in this series? And I'm going to talk later, maybe towards the end, of who I kind of want for season 3 if we ended up getting one. But like season 1, we had First Cow, we had Force Book, and we had... Who's the third couple? I guess it was Neo and Mark. I guess Neo and Mark was technically the third couple. I guess if you want to put that. It's like if we're going to be putting more actors into this, it's like, it's not going to work. Like, I really, here's the thing. When it comes to the 3% we got, and we were missing some stuff in that friend group, and I'll go more in. Earth Mix deserves so much more than what they're getting. They were given shit when Osana's Love came out. That promotion was not it. And I just feel like they don't get the respect they deserve from this company. At least it's from what I've seen. I don't know how it was before shows before Only Friends, but like before Osana's Love. Like I wasn't around for Moonlight Chicken and all that, but like it's very apparent that they're getting the short end of the stick. And I saw that a lot. For Josh and Gowan, I'm kind of like I enjoyed them in this, although we'll get to more of that later. I haven't seen them in my. I didn't really like My Golden Blood that much. I need to do a rewatch of it, but it wasn't like my favorite thing. And the only other thing they've kind of been in, were supposed to be in, was that replay show that are canceled. Luckily, they just announced that they're going to be in another series today, which is the boxing one that is like they basically a Groundhog Day, which it looks interesting. I will give them that. I do think it looks interesting. And then with Owl and Boom, I had adored them in Hidden Agenda. I'd seen a few episodes of Memoir of Rati. I didn't really get to finish that one because it was just not a show that was really on my radar. I mean, I enjoyed it, but then all that stuff came out afterwards with Great, and that I just haven't got back to it. And I loved Owl and The X Morning. He was so funny. And I'm currently watching We Are, so I'm getting bits and pieces of them here and there. And I'm excited for Billy and Parker. But I just feel like if you're gonna do a series like this and then kind of half-ass it, it's like, what's the point of using these good actors then? You know, I was disappointed. I can't hide it. I don't know. I feel like I wasn't given the crazy stressness that I wanted. Also, I want to point out that like out of everything that you guys could have done with this series, right? I don't understand the point of bringing back a character like Boston and then underusing him. I feel like that's my other thing. Neo really doesn't get the respect he deserves either, and I feel like we could have used more of him. But I'm gonna get more to that in the actual thing. I just don't have much to say because I'm just like I'm disappointed. Also, again, this is a season 2. This is an anthology series. I don't want to hear it from anybody who's like, this is not a season 2. It's not connected. If it's not connected, why the fuck are we bringing so many actors from season 1 into this and making it so connected? This is a season 2. Okay, it's just a season 2. Just like, let's leave it at that, please. I'm just so I'm just so sad. I'm so disappointed. Also, I don't know if I should mention this now. I guess I'll do it now. I don't like that they ended the whole series with them doing a remake of the season 1 song, but I guess more on that later. See, I'm gonna get heated just talking about the series and not in a fun way. And I'm really sorry to anyone who liked it. If you liked it, I understand. I might try rewatching this again, like further down the line, but I don't know. So I guess we should just get into the synopsis so we can jump right into it. So, drama, directing, art, music, and dance majors are caught in a tangled web of competition, casual sex, and vulnerability. Jack is directing his ex, Dean, on stage in a role that Raffi wants. Dean tries to get Jack's younger brother, Rome, to block Raffi out of his life. Part of the stage production of Romeo and Romeo is Tua, who harbors feelings for starring actor and dancer Arnold. That's such a half-ass synopsis. I feel like that was supposed to be the synopsis of the fucking pilot. What the hell was that? Okay, let's just get into it. Okay, so as much as we don't want to compare this to season 1 that much, I will be. I think the one thing the show is definitely missing was a female pairing. I feel like that really added to it. It was such an all boys show, and I was like, I don't know, a female pairing I feel like would have added to the mix, but also like a Boston type character, but not like in the sense that he's Boston, but just like that single friend that's not hooking who's either, I guess, like Boston, who's hooking up with everybody, who's like the whatnot of the group, because I feel like that's what made that dynamic of that first season friendship group like so good. That's the other thing. If we're supposed to be only friends, they didn't seem like a friend group. Like the one thing that worked about that first season, I guess that we're gonna start this comparing it to season 1. Sorry guys, is that they were all friends. You had Ray, Mew, Boston. I don't remember the girl's name. All friends working on a project, and then suddenly you mix in sex and romance, and then suddenly it's, well, this one likes this one, but he's actually falling for this guy, and blah 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 blah. And we didn't get that here. They were barely friends. The only friendship here was like Jack with I guess Timmy. I don't fucking know, because Tua and Dean were friends. Like, okay, but then like Jack was only in the mix. But it was weird. It was awkward because Jack and Dean were exes, and that made it just like, okay, whatever. And then you have Raffi, who was just trying to get into this friendship group. He was not part of the friendship group. And then it was kind of like off because then Rome only comes in because he's Jack's brother and he's into Raffi. And I'm like, that's not a friendship group. What happened to the other friendship group dynamic that we should have had here? Why call this only friends if they're not really friends? like make it make sense. Even adding to that, Arnold, he was like only friends with Tua. Like he wasn't even in the friendship group because like unlike everyone else knew that like I guess Arnold and Boston had a thing, or at least like Dean did, and then Jack found out later. Also, I will say this: I see why Jack was a red flag, but I feel like Dean also had a lot of issues, and I don't know if it's because of Jack or of himself. I guess you could. A big tell as to why Jack was a red flag is like, how the fuck are you friends with Boston and fucking Top? Which was crazy to me when they have Top and Mew cameo a bunch. I thought it was just gonna be like a one time thing. That would have been enough for me. But they cameo like fucking 3 times. And then Sandray, who I was happy to see them again, they cameoed like 4 fucking times. And like, I'll get to that in a second. But I just thought it was wild that like, wait a minute. How are you friends with someone like Boston and still connected to someone like Top? I'm so confused. Like, what is this friendship group? Also, I was so disappointed to see that Top Mew are still together. Okay. Like, listen, I like Force Book. I watched a few episodes of Perfect 10-liner. I haven't watched really anything with Force Book in it. I really need to because they seem really good. But I get really mad whenever I see Force because all I can think about is Top. I hate Top. I'm really mad that they're still together. It was so disappointing. My headcanon, literally, I think I said it in our last episode, was that I was hoping that Mix's character would have gotten together with Mew. And like by the way, I know that the character that Mix plays in season 1 is different from this one. Because it wouldn't make sense at all if he played the same character, considering Dean kind of knew them. But like that would have been my headcanon, and that would have been amazing if they would just be like, oh yeah, Mew broke out with me and left me for this guy that stayed at the hostel. Ugh. What is this show? See, I'm talking more about season 1 than I am of this one. My biggest complaint, I will say, or at least one of my biggest complaints, is that I know I said earlier I wasn't like big on Josh Gowan, but like this was one of those series that I was like ready to kind of see if I was going to be into them. Why are we calling them a main lead role when they have such secondary character vibes? Like it's not even their fault. It's literally how their characters were written. I did not give a shit about Arnold and Tua at all. They really had nothing happening to them until like the very end, and only because Jack and Dean's like storyline had to mix in. And then Raffi and Rome, it felt like the main characters were really Jack and Dean, and then Raffi and Rome, and then Rome, Raffi. It feels like Arnold and Tua were like our side characters, and it's disappointing because they're supposed to be main characters, and I just did not give 2 shits about their plot. It was literally half of it was Tua trying to push Arnold to like be his boyfriend. When I understand. Listen, Boston is a toxic character. Boston needs to get his ass kicked one day. Well, he kind of did get his ass handed to him, but not like physically. I'll get to that in a second. He's not a great character, but the one thing I kind of was like, oh, I get it. Because this didn't happen with Nick, and I guess because we weren't showing it that much here. Maybe it did happen here with Tua, but we're not getting much visual. Is that he kind of slept with Tua and then like ghosted him. And it's wrong to do that. You can literally just tell like a person like, hey, I'm just not into dating. But I guess what we're supposed to be like alluded to is that Boston just didn't like that Tua was getting too clingy. And the only reason I'm kind of like, oh, I kind of get why he was annoyed with that if he was, is because we see it happen with Arnold. Because, okay, you really like him. And I think that's great. But like the first time, like we see them like, he's really like quiet on his feelings. He's being told by Dean to kind of like, go after him. Like, do what you gotta do. So what does he do to kind of get like into his crush? He goes up to him during the cast party and is like, are you nervous about having to kiss a boy? Because we could just do it. And then they kiss and it's like, whoa. Like you kind of can't like, don't do that. Like I like, A+ for wanting to like go up to your crush and be like, hey, I like you. But like, let's not do something like that. And then it's just, up until the big thing that happens with Dean later, the entire plotline for them is just Tua being like trying to get out of the fucking friend zone and basically telling Arnold like, how do you feel about me? How do you this? How do you that? And then like to a beat, like many times Tua is telling him, like, I would never date a friend. I'm not comfortable with dating friends because I don't. And he explains why. He doesn't want to risk ruining the friendship. And I get that. That's a valid reason for not wanting to date your friend. Because if it goes sour and then it makes things awkward, especially if you're in a friend group, that's a whole thing. I was just like, my guy, you need to calm down. You need to like back off. I understand, but like you're already setting yourself up for disappointment if you're like going to be disappointed if he says he doesn't want to be with you. Like if that's what it's all about, then why the fuck are you like being friends with him? Like you're not his friend then. You're kind of just pursuing him and it's not cool. I didn't like that. And then they I guess it's like he kind of pushes it to get them together and like great. And it ends up being Boston that ends up pushing them together. So like I guess Boston's good for something. But like for most of that, like they sleep together. And then the very next day, he like Arnold like dips. He's like, I didn't want to wake you up. Isn't that kind of what Boston? I mean, we don't know if Boston left her a note or not, but basically he's like, oh, Boston and I had sex and then he ghosted me. And he didn't ghost him, but I'm like, to kind of leave in the morning without even a goodbye is kind of fucked up. If you're like, I guess, I don't know, friends. I mean, it's not fully fucked up, but it's kind of like one of those things where I'm just like, I don't know. You could have just been like, hey, I'm leaving. You left him on the couch. You could have like woken him to move him to his bed or something. I don't know. Also, I just want to say this, and this comes to the spotlight later about the whole sponsorship thing. If Tua is a nepo baby himself because his dad owns a amusement park, why didn't he just ask his dad to sponsor the play? I feel like that would have solved so many problems. Oh, and to that, I guess that's the other big plot line. So Dean encourages Tua to be like, hey, get your crush in the show. Or like, I guess no, Tua pushes Arnold to be in the show, which like I guess great because he sees it, and Dean is like that's great and all that. But Tua then lies to Arnold and is like, oh, everyone on the cast is getting paid, and it's not true. No one else is getting paid. This is a school project. Why the fuck would anyone get paid? Like hello, but he's basically paying Arnold to be in the show, and Arnold doesn't realize that, and then Arnold is like, mad and angry. And I get that. That's valid. And that's when Tua is like, I really fucked up. What if he doesn't want to be around me anymore? And then I'm not going to be able to handle it. I'm like, oh my God, please stop. The clinginess is just getting to be too much. Like, I understand now why Boston ghosted you. I don't know. I was so annoyed. The characters were just so I just didn't care for the plot. I didn't care. I was bored with them. I feel like I just wasn't paying attention as much. And I probably missed some stuff, but I just didn't care. And it kind of sucks because I feel like as much as I didn't like my Golden Blood, there were some parts in it that I'm like, okay, they have good chemistry. I just am like, it's just kind of being wasted. I hope this new show is pretty good because if not, I'm gonna be really disappointed. You know? I'm just like, I would have really liked it had we kept the plot of like Arnold falling for Dean because that would have made sense because they're in close proximity of each other having to do this thing. And I guess I'll have to talk about more about Jack and Dean to be able to like kind of get into this. Arnold to me also was kind of just like, there were so many times where I was like, my guy, do you know what the hell is going on? What made me laugh the most? Oh my God. Like, Josh, my guy. I'm sorry for laughing at this. The scene when they bring in Boston and they're like, they're cutting the cameras to each of them. Arnold has this face of like, he's just happy to be here. It is such a like, I would call it like a dum-dum, like a dum-dum face, but not like in a mean way. It was kind of like he's like, hey. It just made me laugh. I was like, oh my God, like whatever. I just thought it was kind of funny how they panned him and he kind of like, whatever. Okay, so I'll get more into that when I talk. I guess let's talk about Jack and Dean because I want to save romance for last. But those two were terrible. Dean, I felt bad for more towards the end. And he had to do a lot to survive, and I get it. But then it was just that Dean was really mean to like Rafi for no reason. And here's the thing, I understand that Rafi was like trying to get with his man, but like y'all are broken up now, so Jack is fair game. And he was really, really not weirdly. I get it. Like when you've been in a relationship that long, it kind of becomes hard when you're not the one that's I don't remember if they mentioned if he was the one that broke up or if it was Jack. I assume it was Jack that broke up the relationship. It's kind of hard to let that go when like so much has happened. And he clearly was going through a lot. And it's clear that Jack didn't really want to break up with him or like let him go because they were just equally obsessed with each other. But the way they all went about it was just the wrong way. And they were both really toxic. Like I understood what a lot of people were saying online that Jack is a terrible, toxic person. I in the beginning sympathized with Jack because it just felt like Dean wouldn't leave him alone to breathe and give him a chance to kind of move on from the relationship. Like Jack going to speed dating and then suddenly Dean appears and it's like, you're never gonna find someone to replace me. And then it's just like, well, Dean, you shouldn't want to be with Jack anymore because you guys just aren't, they're not healthy for each other. And, you know, a lot of it I feel like was Dean. I'm not saying he was doing this to get the part, but it ended up feeling like that. And it did more so anytime he attacked Rafi. And I'm like, but you slept with Jack to get the part. And I mean, I don't think it was the only reason, but he's like trying to stay claim on Jack kind of just made it all messy. Like I also I guess I'll get to this now. I feel like I'm going to talk more about Ram and Rafi and all of them together now because I feel like I made my peace with Arnold and Tua because there just wasn't much for me to talk about when it came to them. But just to kind of reiterate, I felt like I know we got really small snippets of that audition. I feel like Rafi would have been the better pick for what is essentially the Juliet character. Okay. Cause like we know that like that's what it is. It's Romeo and Juliet. Okay. We're making it two boys. So we're calling them Romeo and Romeo, which like you could have done some other iteration of the name Juliet and made it male, but sure. Whatever. It's not confusing at all. Also, side note, can I just talk about the funniest thing to me was the fact that when they're choosing the school play, it's between Romeo and Wicked. I don't think you can get the licensing to do Wicked like that anywhere. Like, I know high schools can. I think in a high school you can do like Hamilton. I don't know if Wicked is available. If someone knows if Wicked's licensing is available for schools to do, please let me know because I feel like that's not a thing. But whatever. I guess because Wicked had just come out and all that, it makes sense. But like, I think what would have been funnier if it had, or like what would have been better, not me nitpicking this one little like gag joke, but I feel like a better like versus would have been like West Side Story because that is Romeo and Juliet. And I think Grease is also Romeo and Juliet, but that I feel like that would have been funnier. Or because I was trying to think like, because I know a while back we had done an episode on the Heart Killers, which is another Shakespeare GMM TV adaptation. That's the Taming of the Shrew. And it was a Taming of the Shrew, but also they took aspects of 10 Things I Hate About You. But I can't think of like the Romeo and Juliet equivalent to 10 Things I Hate About You. Like, would it be Warm Bodies? I don't know. There's like none. There's no team rom-com Romeo and Juliet, but how could you considering they die at the end? But whatever. But yeah, I just thought it was funny that it was Wicked. So when they show the auditions, since it's basically the Juliet character, I don't know why I feel like Rafi would have been the more better choice. I think because he had this like innocent like vibe to him that I just feel like fits the Juliet character. I don't know why I wasn't getting that off of Dean, but you know, he clearly got the part because it's Jack and he still harbors feelings, which is what made me so mad for Rafi because that boy tries a lot and he really, you know, we talk. I see a lot of people on Twitter talking about how like Dean really got the short end of the stick and everything, especially towards the end. But I feel like Rafi also is one that we need to talk about in that it's the same thing for him. But I'm gonna get to that in a second because I just kind of feel like we're ignoring that and it's making me mad. But yeah, so Jack and Dean's very toxic. I didn't like that Jack. Okay, he picks Dean and then when he's made to have Rafi be like the alternate, because that's what Rafi basically is, he's the alternate. Uh, it- he he kind of doesn't give Rafi a chance to learn anything. That's what was throwing me off the entire second half of the series was just like, when do you guys rehearse? Because why the hell are we going on a camping trip instead of rehearsing? And Dean is given most of the rehearsal time. Anytime we see them doing rehearsal, it's always Dean and Arnold practicing. And then anytime we see Raffi doing it, he only gets like a split second, and then suddenly it like how long are these fucking rehearsals? Like we get such a short snippet when it's supposed to start, and then a minute later they're ending it because some drama is happening. I would be pissed off, by the way, if I was like working on this production as a background actor or anything, and like every fucking rehearsal it ends up getting cut short because the director and the main actor can't fucking stop causing drama. Like, my guy, this is like a part of my final grade. Like, can we just do the fucking work? Like, it was getting to be exhausting. Like, let's like stop here and not like do this anymore. Like, what the fuck? Like, kudos to the music guy who dropped out within like the first 2 days because he wanted to pursue his band. His homeboy, we're not gonna get shit done with all the drama going on. Like, I feel you. And yeah, ended up getting Rome in there, which the one thing that really annoyed me was that they never made it clear that Jack and Rome were like half brothers. It kind of was just like they were brothers. Like, it was alluded to, yeah. I mean, not alluded. It kind of was made more clear like anytime they would talk about each other's parent. But like when Rome went up to like Jack and Raffi in the bar and was like, "Mom's been asking about when you're coming home." It's like, okay, is she your mom or is she Jack's mom? Do you guys share the same mom? Are you half brothers? So do you share the same mom? Because it kind of was feeling, because I think in the pilot they state that they're half brothers. Maybe I was wrong. I have to rewatch the pilot. I haven't watched it in a hot minute. But I kind of felt like they were step brothers more than half brothers because it just felt like, I couldn't get the vibe of them being like, it felt like they were more stepbrothers because it felt like Jack was just annoyed to have to deal with him in his living in his house, as most of these dramas do when they have like step siblings. It's like, you're not my real family, and then at the end they're like, I accept you as my brother. That's what the vibe was getting off for me. I was not getting off the vibe that they were like siblings. Especially because there was like one scene where the dad goes to talk to Jack, and I'm like, okay, so is that Jack's dad? But that doesn't make sense because is Raffi, like, not Raffi, is Rome like a few years younger than him? So I guess if they're half brothers, that would mean they don't have the same mom, right? I guess so, but like, yeah, because I guess because the mom would talk more to Rome. I have no idea. I have no idea. Someone's gonna correct me in the comment. I'm gonna be like, yeah, thank you. Cause like I just was like getting so annoyed with this whole like series. I just didn't care. Like, spell it out for me. I know media literacy is important, but at this point I'm just like, just fucking spell it out to me so we can move on with our day. But yeah, I just was like, also I want to understand what rehab is like in Thailand as opposed to like here. Or I guess what rehab is like if you're an alcoholic. That's what I didn't understand with the first 2 seasons of this show. Because can people who go to rehab still drink? I should look this up, but I guess I'm questioning it now because I don't really want to look it up right now because I'm just trying to get through this. Sort of finish. I don't want to lose my train of thought and waste time because like we get a cameo from so first Kirsten Tongue shows up as San Ray. And it's when Rome takes Raffi to hang out at like a concert thing that Sand is like putting on. And they talk about how like, oh, Ray has started a beer company, a homemade beer. Like they started a beer company together with a homemade beer that they made. And Ray is like, oh, it's to my experience of like when I was like what I like to drink. And it's like, didn't you go to rehab because you drank too much? Why are you drinking again? I'm so confused. And then they bring up that Jack also went to rehab because apparently Dean drove him to rehab, which like I wish we would have had more of an explanation because considering what happens to Dean later, it kind of feels like, like, fuck you, Jack. Like, really? I don't know. I really wish we would have gotten, or maybe I should have paid attention more. I don't even know anymore. I just was like, okay, so he pushed you to go to rehab and he's still drinking. Like, even before we get like that scene in the second to last episode where he's like heavy, heavy drinking, he's still drinking. So it's like, can you go to rehab and like still drink like in moderation? Because I feel like this is not a safe thing. I'm curious. I'm just a little curious. Anyone remember that show from HBO? No, just me. I feel like Earth Mix, you know, I really want more for them. I really do. I don't know what it is. I'm just getting so disappointed. I wasn't disappointed. I kind of was just annoyed by a lot of things that were going on in the series. So, and then so I guess we can now extend the Arnold to Jack Dean of it all. Is that okay? So Dean, it becomes apparent after Rafi has made the alternate that the only way, I guess, to make it as an actor, and it's really true because we see this a lot in Broadway. As a theater, someone who's a theater major, um, having a big following sometimes really is the only way to get certain shows brought to like the stage almost. I There was like a plot line in this series because Rafi is the son of a famous actress. The sponsor is like, I will give money if Rafi is one of the actors. And I'm like, okay, like that I get it because it's they agreed to do it because they need sponsorship. They need to get funding for the show that they end up using for a camping trip, but we'll talk about that in a second. So I could understand why Dean would decide that like, hey, I need to do something to become influencer famous. But my whole thing about that is you're using so he goes to Tua and is like, hey, can I use Arnold to start a couples page? Like he is scrolling to TikTok and he's seeing all his friends TikToks, and then fucking Top Mew pulls up. And I guess Top Mew are influencers now, which I just want to point that out. It's the worst. Like I don't understand that. Why are they influencers? I feel like they would have made better having it where they're running the hostel together or something. I don't know. It just was kind of like, it's not what I was expecting from those two, but whatever. So he goes up to Tua and is like, "Hey, would you be okay if I asked Arnold if he could do this a couples page with me so that I can gain followers and help out with the show?" And of course Tua says yes because like they're friends and he just wants Dean to succeed. But I think it was kind of fucked up. And it ends up biting him in the ass later because he becomes so obsessed with getting this like following. And I get it because it would help him in the acting career. And we see a scene early on. He goes to an audition for a pizza, I think it was like a pizza commercial or something. And Dean Dee Dun's great. And then Jack overhears that he's getting passed over for someone with a bigger following. And it sucks because it happens. It even happens now. It's why, like, I understand why. No, I don't. I do get a little frustrated when a lot of times famous actors are like the only time nowadays that we, are always hiring like influencers and things like that. When a lot of actors look down on certain influencers, it's like, well, there are a lot of influencers out there who are actual actors who, get on social media, do this stuff and get a following because it's the only way for them to kind of be able to use their craft and break into the system. Like, I think the best example of this for me, I was thinking about this because I was seeing this conversation. Someone brought up, if you're on TikTok, if you ever watched that Bistro Huddy series, it's the guy who kind of plays all the characters and he like does like, it's like a restaurant drama type thing, comedy thing. It's really funny. I watch it every day. He's an actor. He literally is like, I think they said, I read somewhere that he was trying to pursue acting and he wasn't getting roles. And now he's doing this like full time. He's making money off of this. He has a following. And it would suck if like he suddenly got casted in like a big movie role and someone was like, well, he only got casted because he has like a million followers or like however many followers he has. But he's an actor. He's an actor. And that's the unfortunate thing about today is that unless you're a Nepo baby, and this is what we see in the series, unless you're a Nepo baby like Ralphie or you have a big following, sometimes you just don't get that part. And it is disappointing for someone like Ralphie because I know we dog on Nepo babies to say this, but there are some who I do think, they don't want to get by with their name. And it does happen, but a lot of them really put a lot of time and effort in their craft. Like, I will say my favorite Nepo baby for me is Jack Quaid. Dennis Quaid and Megan Ryan's son. You've kind of seen him, you've probably seen him in like the Scream film. He's in Star Trek Lower Deck. He's the voice of Boimler. A lot of you guys probably know him from The Boys. You know, I feel like he really loves what he does. I also think he's the voice of Superman in one of the Superman cartoons. And it clearly shows because he has a lot of fun doing it, and it's almost like you kind of don't want to see him as an Nepo baby because it kind of feels like, if he didn't have, the name attached, you would want him to get these parts because he's so much fun. And I think that's what it is for Raffi, is that he doesn't want his mom's name to be the reason why he gets this part. Although Raffi doesn't seem like he really wants to be an actor. I guess to jump forward to that in terms of Raffi's character, I think the sad part is, when the part is split and Dean blames him and is like, well, you only got it because of your mom's name. It isn't fair because it's not like Rafi had asked for it. He accepted the fact that he was going to be a supporting role. It was his mom who basically on a TV show was like, oh, he got the lead role. And I didn't, this is why I'm kind of like iffy about him and Rome getting together, but I don't want to focus much on that. He kind of also gets the short of the stick because like he doesn't really get a say in what he wants almost. It's like kind of been determined that he's going to be in entertainment. And I think that's one of the reasons why he goes after Jack. I'm going to put in that because I just realized I didn't finish my thought on the whole influencer thing. So let me finish that. But yeah, it's kind of funny because that ends up ruining it for Dean, is that he becomes obsessed with this idea that he needs to be an influencer to be able to pursue acting. And that sucks that it's not about the acting anymore. And it really should be, and it backfires on him in so many ways. And it ends up like hurting the whole play. And then it hurts. And what makes me mad is that it hurts him in the end and he doesn't get his forgiveness out. He doesn't, people don't apologize to him afterwards. He ends up having to forgive. And I think the one downside was that he shouldn't have asked Arnold to be his like quote unquote partner in this couple thing, because the part of the pilot plot point of Arnold liking Dean only comes in the actual series, in the sense that when they go on this camping trip that they're using the sponsored money for, which is crazy to me, is that they almost end up kissing. And then to bring Raffi back into this conversation is that Raffi ends up taking the photo, and we'll get more into that when I talk about Roman Raffi, but it's just one of those things where I'm just like, I almost like, it's when it gets revealed that that happened because they decide to keep quiet about it. It hurts his relationship with Tua the most of all, who he's living with, and he is like freeloading off of. Like, no offense, that's what he is doing. He's freeloading off. He's living in his house rent free. It is almost just like kind of sad. So, it's and Jack being so mad at it even before it's revealed, just being annoyed at the whole thing, and it's like, well, you didn't put a stop to Raffi getting this part, and I get it. I get you kind of where you had your fingers tied, but then getting mad that like, hey, Dean is trying to find a way to kind of succeed in this industry that he's actively being looked over because of XYZ. You getting jealous and mad, it's not helping the situation. I don't think Dean should have been so bitchy about it, but like Jack also could have been a little more understanding. Like, it pissed me off when the whole host thing came out, and then Jack kind of throws it at him that, well, you had a choice. You're financially stable. It's very clear that Dean is not. He makes it very clear that his sister was paying for his college and he was doing what he thought was best. And that's what was really annoying about Jack as a character. To unpin that whole thing about Raffi is that, speaking of Jack, I think the only reason he was trying to get after Jack is because Jack is kind of what I think his mother would have liked. He's an up and coming director, and his mom, Raffi's mom, wants him to be an actor like her. I think the idea of him dating someone who is like also pursuing something in the industry that his mom would have enjoyed probably was really helpful. I'm sure he did like Jack. I think there's something about Jack that he really liked, but it doesn't, he's not as convincing as, like, especially when we see him flip flop a lot with Rome, which I know I'm not getting into every plot. I'm not trying to reiterate every single plot point from the series, but this is the problem I have with a series like Only Friends, is that when you have three couples and you have so many plot points that you want to discuss and why it bothers you, this is a lot. So I'm kind of going to now just give my whole thing about why I was not fully a thing about Roman Raffi, and then my overall thoughts on the ending, and then what season 3 is going to be. So let's just get into that. Actually, first, can I say again how crazy it is to me that they went on a whole fuck ass camping trip? And like, this will get into the conversation from Raffi, but Timmy, my boy Fluke, I need him in and Thor to be a thing, man. I wish Thor would have cameoed and like put him in his place. I think that would have been great. No, I'm sorry. Him playing basically the actual villain of the series, not even Boston. Also, I want to point out, Boston's barely been here, but he's also been here. Um, the fact that Timmy's the accountant, and I guess he's the accountant for all the shows, he apparently took some of the money out of the account to kind of spend on himself, which is crazy. And then he's going after Rome because he likes Rome and then gets jealous that Rome and Raffi are still hooking up. And then he's the reason why the photo of Arnold and Dean go out there because he ends up also he followed and it was really he followed Raffi and saw them hook up and then saw that happen, and I guess he was like, well, if I expose these two, then Jack will be single and Raffi will go after him and then I can have Rome. Like, that was never gonna happen. It's just kind of crazy to me, but also like, you notice $1,000 is gone because you guys ended up having less tents than last year's outing. Why are we having an outing when we barely rehearsed? I'll never get over that. They barely rehearsed that show. Also, the fact that they did a photo shoot with the people who were behind the scenes being like the costume designer, the director, whatever Timmy's role was. I'm sorry. I guess assistant director. I don't fucking know. Producer. And then the 3 fucking actors, not even the background actors. Like, we couldn't get the fucking background actors in here. This is insane. But I mean, I didn't understand the point of having Timmy be a villain if it was such like an endpoint. It didn't do much, like, because he was embezzling money. Like, I don't know. It could have been anything else, any other way. It just felt, I don't know why it felt so pointless to me. I just hated it. I didn't care. But Roman Raffi, okay, so my thing with Roman and Raffi is they're the sand ray of this season. Because that's what they are. And it becomes apparent when every fucking time Sand and Ray have a fucking cameo, with the exception of the first episode, right? Because the first episode, Sand and fucking Dean have a song, and it's really cute. And then Ray comes up and is like, I don't think you guys, their voices meshed well. And I was like, snaps, girl, get your man. Any other time we saw those two in the series, in the season, was around them. Literally, even at the end when they start this little business. Much like Sand and Ray, for that first season, I wanted Sand to get away from that friend group. It just didn't make sense. For this one, I was like, Raffi, there's no point. You don't have to be here. Roman's only here because he's Jack's brother. You don't have to be here, baby. Go. There's no point. It's not worth it. None of them is worth it. I kept getting so mad at him every time he went back to Rome. Literally, he clearly was into Rome, but it was one of those things where he kind of self-sabotaged himself and just really, I think, was hyper-focused on Jack because that was his original goal. But then I would get annoyed, like, anytime he actually was actively trying to get to know Rome or trying to be with him. I feel like I'm saying Rome wrong, but whatever. Rome would then throw it back at him and be like, no, I'm not here to be your second choice. Then why the fuck are you also pursuing him? Leave the boy alone. I was just getting so frustrated. Literally, we have an entire scene where, mind you, they're sex buddies, right? They hook up in a bathroom. They're not really together, but every fucking time Raffi's trying to like talk to Jack, because again, Jack is single. Raffi is single. Rome would just cock block him and like jump in and be like, no, like every single time. And yeah, they ended up hooking up, but it's like, I don't know if a part of it was just because he was like, you know what, he wants to hook up. I'm horny. I'm just going to do it. That's what it felt. It felt like a lot of times to me that Raffi was kind of just like, you know what, I guess he likes me. I should just pursue it because Jack is not into me type thing. And I'm always rejected. And I guess this is the one person that's willing to be with me. That's what it felt like. It felt like he had no self-confidence in itself. And it really annoyed me. And I hated when he, like, not him flirting with Boston. I was okay with that. Because you know what, fuck it, have a hookup. I was waiting for that. I was kind of disappointed we never got that whole rumored 3-way that was supposed to be between, it wasn't between Boston, Tua, and Raffi. We never got that. Whoever started that rumor, fuck you, because that made me so disappointed that wasn't a thing. But he goes to flirt with Boston. They're about to hook up. And then Raffi like punches him in the face. And I'm like, why the fuck are you punching Boston? They're adults. You're not his boyfriend. And then him being like, you're going to be so cheap that you're going to hook up with Jack's friend. He already hooked up with Jack's brother. His brother. Half brother, step brother, whatever it is. And then to call him cheap, you guys literally hooked up in a bathroom after you had sex with someone else. Okay? You literally went to round 2 with him. Like, if anyone's cheap, it's you. Like, it just annoyed me so much. Or like at the end when, okay, so I thought it was great that he, you know, when when Rafi overheard Jack, which by the way, I didn't agree with anyone online who was like, well, if he would have heard everything Jack said, he would have still wanted Jack. No. When he had heard Jack say to Dean that Rafi was was going to be Dean's replacement, um, and he tells Rome, and then Rome goes to punch him and defend him. Like, I was here for that. I was like, okay, maybe we're building something. But then the very next scene, when after the show, Jack goes up to him and he's like, can we talk for a minute? And Rafi turns to Rome and says, hey, can you wait for me outside? And then Rome was like, you know what? It's your choice, but I'm not gonna wait for you. What the fuck was that? Okay, he's just like, it's very clear he was just gonna tell Jack, like, I'm not into you like that anymore. Like, you basically trying to push him into Jack's arms. I did not understand that. And then making him send that ice bucket, it just made me so mad that, like, Ron was basically like chasing after him and then being like, I'm not going to be your second choice. Then stop chasing after him the entire fucking time. And then was basically like, oh, now you want me? Well, I don't want you. It just, I didn't care for, I fucking hated every fucking second of it. Like, it's funny because I'm pretty sure that was like the most toxic aspect of this season that made it feel like only friends. I was just, I don't know. I don't, like, I'll have to agree with a lot of people and being like, you know what I miss? I miss when we had people hooking up with other people. Like, the point of the first season was that we had people mixing up their pairs. Like, you had Pop in Boston have a full on blown like car sex scene. Like, we could have had things like that. Or when fucking the last episode where San and like Top make out because of the truth, that was fucking great. You had so when Nick and San kissed, when there was just like people kissing people, like we were mixing it up. Everyone was kissing everyone else's partners. That's what I was hoping for. Because like, why the fuck did they have a whole photo of them like looking like they just were traumatized by the script when it was not much? It's not like they were making out with each other. It was disappointing. Someone said I would have paid top dollar for Boom and Mix to just make out. Like, they should have been like just a heated like, yeah, like angry kiss type thing. I don't know why I said yeah. I don't know. It's like, the whole point of this Only Friends like name is that shit like this happens. And I kind of was just disappointed we got unnecessary drama with toxic people. So to kind of just go to the ending, okay, so Arnold's mom wants him to move to California because he broke his leg during the show. I'm not even gonna talk much about what happened with the play because I don't really care. And she doesn't think that like he's going to be able to act and dance if his leg is too hurt. So she should move with her and her white boyfriend. I thought for a second, I thought it was his dad. I don't think it's not his dad because they're going to open a Thai restaurant in California. And basically, so we jump a year, just so that you know. Tua ends up working as a designer on a movie set or in costuming. Arnold stays with Tua in Thailand and ends up getting a part in that movie, which is great because they needed someone who could speak English, I guess. I don't know. That's not really how usually it works in movie sets, but whatever. But it worked. He got a part and then he gets to stay and he's going to start his career. With Rafi and Rome, they start, I guess, Rome becomes a famous DJ and Rafi manages him, which I guess works best for like, he still wanted to work in this industry, but clearly for him, working behind the scenes works better than being on screen, which I'm sure his mother still loved, even though they're not really talking. Because the last time we hear from, like, they mention her, they don't really talk. I also fast forward a lot of that ending because I just really want to get it over with. And then I guess they also work with San Ray because they're like doing a festival type thing or something, which is great because like we get to see San and Ray and we get to reiterate this is a season 2 of a series, not a separate season series, whatever. And then the most disappointing ending for a lot of people was the fact that Dean and Jack, not that they didn't stay together. I'm kind of glad they broke up. Wish they would have stayed broken up. But Dean got the short end of the stick. Everyone else kind of got their happy ending. We're getting our careers. Dean ends up having to become a flight attendant because it makes decent money. He's given up on his dream of being an actor. And I know he says he does auditions here and there, but let me tell you something. If he's actively being a flight agent, a flight attendant, he's traveling a lot. I don't know much about being a stewardess, but I know that sometimes you can be on call for flights, things like that. So he probably is only auditioning once in a blue moon. And he's basically given up acting. And it's not until he bumps into Jack, who the last time they see each other, he's he's kind of like right before like the play was ending and everything, he decides to like let Jack go, which kind of weird considering everything, but whatever. He, pushes Jack to speak to kind of ask someone else out because they're friends, and is trying to kind of move on from the drama of everything and be this new person. And of course, as he's kind of living what can kind of be like a simple life. He's not dating, which is sad. He kind of just hasn't he feels like he hasn't been able to meet someone with how his life is traveling, which I don't think that's the case. I think it's just that I don't think he wants to fall into his old habits like he was in his relationship with Jack. I think he's kind of scared of being in another relationship like that, which can be a scary thing. And then he bumps into Jack, who got to do everything. His play got to tour. He ended up dating a doctor, and the only reason they broke up is because of the whole long distance thing or whatever. And it sucks. Dean just kind of had to like accept it. That I guess his punishment for everything, even though a lot of that wasn't his fault. Like the whole thing with like the worst thing out of everything he had done that entire series was the central hug with Arnold that almost looked like they were about to kiss, but at least they stopped themselves. Yes, they should have told Tua and Jack right afterwards, especially since they got back together. They should have been honest, and that was like his one fault. But they still shit on him over the host thing. Like they really made it seem like he was deservement of this punishment of just not being able to pursue his dream like everyone else and find love and all that. And then suddenly Jack comes back into his life, and instead of just like a part of me is like, you know what, I've seen a lot of these series and it's kind of become point blank that every couple that's like a pairing is going to stay together. It would have been better had they not stayed together, but they end up getting back together. And then instead of having a better ending for Dean, and this is what made me sad, was that he ends up getting to pursue his dream and becoming an actor by being in one of Jack's plays. And that was disappointing. I really wish they had it where he ended up landing a role. Like they met up. Okay, they hook up, but they're not going to be back together. And then he ends up going to another audition, and it turns out someone remembers him from those videos and really liked him and whatever. And then he gets the part, and he gets to pursue the acting career on his own, on his like not with Jack's help. And then you could have alluded that maybe they'll try again at the end, like because you got to keep them together. I don't know. It's just really sad to me that he ended up still having to rely on Jack to get a part, and all of that. I don't know. And in very much Jack being like, oh, we're only going to hook up if we're back together. And it's like, it's very clear Dean didn't want that. Like, no, I can't say that. It's clear that he did want to get back together, but he wasn't ready. And he clearly was scared of like falling. Again, he's just really scared of falling back into old habits. And that's what sucks. So yeah, and then of course, like, I guess to get into the season 3 talk, yes, we get basically a mixed type character like we did in season 1, which is great, ends up cameoing and sitting next to Jack and being like, can I sit here and watch the show with you? Like it's like a flirty cameo, kind of like mixes whole can I be your friend to Mew in that first season. So I guess, does this mean we're gonna get a season 3? Obviously nothing is confirmed. We're just all speculating because of the fact that, well, that happened last time and it happened this time. So we can only anticipate that it's going to happen again. I guess we'll know definitively at the end of the year when we get next year's set of pilots. If I'm being honest, I don't want a season 3. It was going to be like season 2. Like, let's go back to like standards and like back to the OG information of like, it doesn't have to be the same, because here's the thing. This season 2 had a lot of plot points that was in season 1. It was just kind of altered and changed to be put into this like theater dramatic setting. If we're going to do a season 3, can we take them out of college and like more of an adult setting? I don't fucking know where, but somewhere, and actually make the friend group a friend group and maybe put like some girls in there, because like I don't know why I felt like that was missing. I don't know why. It just like I felt like having a girl in there would have been great or something like that. But I guess if we're going to have to do what's funny is that we're talking about this potential season 3. I saw some people like talk about like who could be, and in my opinion, I would love if Thor Fluke came in. I know Fluke is already Pete in this season, but who gives a fuck? If Mix could play a different character, so could he. Um, Someone said Boon Prim should do it. I think funny enough, I think the other day they were doing promo for Love Out Loud Fest and they had asked him, I think it was Mix or it might have been first. I can't remember. I'm sorry. It's like really late. I'm tired. If he wanted to be an OnlyFans and he said no. And I'm like, now that I think about it, who else? I mean, it would have to be couples who haven't been in the series yet, right? I'm like, oh, who else could be in it? I'm gonna have to go through my GMMTV like roster of like who would I want, but I'm not even sure. Maybe Per Santa. I think Per Santa would be good. Oh my god, I think they would be great. I think that would be fun. Obviously, we would get Great Bright because obviously we're gonna do that. I don't know, like I was gonna say William and S, but I think that's what your manic is basically going to be, is them being toxic. So is there really a point in putting them in another series where they have to be toxic? Maybe Surf Java. So like they could use another role. I'm trying to think of the more newer couples, but I don't really know many of them. Oh, who's Barcode a couple with now? Oh my god, me looking. I know they're gonna be in Your Manic. You Manic, I think it's what it's called. Let me look. Yeah, it's You Manic. Hold on. Who is Barcode paired with now? Barcode Kin. I know they have a series coming out soon. I would love that. I feel like I don't know Kin that well. I'm sorry, like because they haven't really done anything yet. I know they're going to be in Your Manic, but they haven't done anything yet. I think it would be great to give it to those two, if only because Barcode I think would fit an OnlyFans like series really well. So that would be a great thing to put those two in. Yeah, I think a mixture of like older pair couples and newer ones would be great. So Great Bright would be great. um Barcode Kin. This is like a hard one. I those two pairings at the very least. I don't know Surf Java that well. I think and Per Santa. I feel like I would love Per Santa. I don't know why I would love those two in it. I think they would be. You know what it was. You know what it was. You know what it is because I think having Perth and Santa basically do what they did in Me and Thee would be great. But you know what? I think instead of Perth being the toxic one, let's make Santa the toxic one. Like let's give him like something like sassy and slutty and like evil. I would love that, you know? Anyway, I guess, I'm gonna wrap this up here now and get to my rating and song of the week because I need to go to bed. But so my rating for the series, I want to give it like a 4.5 or like a 5 out of 10. I don't really know how to feel. I feel like I was more annoyed and disappointed than I was, and not in a fun way like I was at season 1. So I don't want to give it too high of a rating. I also don't remember what I gave Only Friends. So I think maybe a 4 would be good for now. And it's kind of one of the things like it's nothing to do. It's just the story didn't do it for me. But everything else was great. Costuming, the acting, the production was great. I just don't feel like the story really hit it for me in a way that I really would have liked. I'm gonna have to get more harsh with my ratings, but like, yeah, I just also don't see myself really pushing myself to rewatch this as much as I would have the first season. Like the first season I rewatched and I was like, oh my god. But like I've caught myself rewatching certain episodes from that just for the hell of it. And I don't really know if I will with this one. So yeah, I hope no one's mad at me for that. But for my song of the week, this is a fun one to pick because I was like, oh my god, this is perfect. I want to pick Prima Donna by Marina and the Diamonds. I just thought, oh my god, it's very much giving like theatrical, like they're all divas, like they're prima donnas, like especially Mix. Like Dean is a prima donna, and I love it. That's the one thing I think I liked about the season is that the plots they were given weren't great, but the characters were great. It was just the storylines weren't great. And I think that's what was so good about it is that, Mix really gave his all. They all did, but Minx especially, I think, was really he fits that prima donna. Like he really made Dean to be that theater diva you wanted him to be. and he deserves so much more. So yeah, so that's gonna be a wrap for this episode. I really hope people aren't too mad at me with some of the stuff that I said, because I know this series had a very much like a mixed mixed like reception, in terms of like a lot of people seem to like it, but I feel like a lot of people also like no, and it's very 50-50. But yeah, I also hope like I didn't just like drawn on a lot like I did last week, especially because Lilia's on here. But yeah, so I guess we're gonna see you guys next time. Next week's episode, we are going to be doing Love Upon a Time, Net JJ's first lead role series since becoming a pairing. So that's going to be a good one. And yeah, everyone have a great rest of your week. Bye.
All right, guys, that's it for this entry. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media accounts. On Twitter, you can find us at FG Diaries Pod. On Tumblr, TikTok, and Instagram, you'll find us at FG Diaries Podcast. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and hope you all have a wonderful fangirly day.